Right. So in 24,
love history. It's so amazing for you to.
Well, to see the connections, Ben. The thing about it is, after you understand the pulses, the long-term pressures, things that happen make sense that otherwise would not make sense.
Right.
So here's what happened in 2014. Ukraine and Russia had a huge disagreement. A president was elected in Ukraine. Well, at first there was one that was favorable to the Russians, and he was turning his back on the West, and he was bringing Ukraine again under Russian domination. The people of Ukraine proper, mostly of the western part of Ukraine, rebelled against it. They overthrew his government. They threw him out and elected a new one that wanted to join NATO, and then wanted to join Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And the Russians started to foment war over that, and they encouraged the people who lived out here, many of whom were Russians from the period when Ukraine was part of Russia, and especially the people who lived down here, because since they threw the Tatars out, the entire flavor of the Crimea changed. It became not really feeling like it was part of Ukraine, because a large number of the people here are part of the Russian military, the communist military, and they voted to stay with the commies. So, even though
They voted?
they did hold an election which the Ukrainians feel is illegitimate, and they seceded from Ukraine, and then within a couple of weeks they asked to join the Soviet Union. So if you had somebody drawing this map today, they wouldn't know what to do with this part, because most of the world does not recognize this, including the United States. Our official position is that's part of Ukraine. But Ukraine, the Ukrainian army can't go there right now because this part of Ukraine has aligned with the Soviet Union and is being supported by them. So this is being played out today. There are skirmish wars going along all along the Ukrainian border.
Georgia, didn't he go down there?
He did, and on the same grounds. Georgia was a province that had broken away from the Soviet Union, and he's trying to get it back. So
because it belongs to him.
yes.
What is Georgia? I didn't know.
Georgia is a country. Georgia is a country.
Right, but
that's where Georgia is. It's a republic. It used to be a part of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, so it was part of the USSR. But as the USSR fell apart, things like Ukraine, Belorussia, White Russia, and is that small Russia? I forget. And Georgia. These all broke away from the USSR and formed their own countries.
And Putin was using the same reasoning for doing that as...
Which is that there are ethnic Russians. Right.
Yes.
He's actually following the pattern. Stop. He's following a pattern that was used by Hitler many years before to justify attacking countries like Austria, Czechoslovakia, and even Poland. Okay. You know what? We had a lot of fun. What questions did you have? I need to start wrapping here. In fact, we're past time where I needed to start wrapping. I'm going to need a ride back.
Dan, your question?
I always thought, why didn't nations such as maybe Austria, Sweden, actually join France and Britain in the war? Since they have, Sweden especially, they have maybe as much to win.
Sweden had some interest in this. That's an interesting question. One answer that I would give is that Sweden largely turned its back on military expansion and contests after the reign of Charles XII. And we should talk about the Charles XII story because it takes place down here. The war between Sweden and Russia is actually decided in the Ukraine at a place called Poltava. That's in the early 1700s, 1710 or so. And the king of Sweden goes to Turkey. He doesn't go home. For 10 years, he resides in the court of the Sultan of the Ottoman Turks and keeps on encouraging them to declare war against the Russians. But you know what? That's a very fun story, but I need to be careful.
That's a rabbit trail.
It is a rabbit trail. The answer to your question is the Swedes are no longer interested in acquiring additional territory, and they're quite confident that the British and the French can deal with the Russians.
How about when you're done with history lessons, you don't ask us to ask questions, and you ask us to ask questions.
Well,
for
no,
next
I want
call.
you to ask questions because I want you to
Right.
I want you to learn
But-
about what a well-formulated question is, for one thing. Did you create a question, which was part of the homework? Okay, so going forward, and this is to the Burnses too, if they ever listen to this, part of this exercise that Mrs. Miner and I are working out is I am preparing in depth for a small slice of what you were supposed to learn. But you are to read the entire thing. You really have a chapter a week you're going through. And I want to cover topics that were of interest to you, or where you felt like the book, that you were teased and the book didn't tell you enough, or that you just wondered why something didn't happen, like Danny just did. And I want you to conscientiously develop a question and bring it to these, and we're going to leave a little time for that so that we have a light covering for the areas that I'm not covering in depth. This was the most fun one. There was a connection to current history, which is way cool, and you got a chance to glimpse how history over time can give you answers to what's going on right now. And that was not really true of many of the other topics there. But we don't want to neglect them entirely. You're still supposed to be reading them.
Okay,
and I
in
want you to
their
bring
defense,
questions.
I did not make that clear at all. I
Okay.
thought the question was to be about,
Oh, it can be. It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
okay.
I would respond to a question like Danny. Well, Danny's was related to Crimean.
I mean, I was
can be
thinking
anywhere.
if it was a genuine question that they really wanted
Yep.
answered, it shouldn't matter like what chapter
It doesn't
comes
matter.
from.
You can go anywhere.
Right.
And in fact, you can bring more than one if you have them. But you should aim to have at least one.
So
Okay.
Ben, did you have a question ready for today, Ben?
No.
Okay, then you get 2 questions for next week,
Okay.
Okay, for
will
next
have to-
visit.
next time we
Yeah.
have calls.
Okay.
And for the next choral reading that we do, and we will be doing one, Walt Whitman.
Oh yeah, that's right.
All right, we're going to be doing another one. I'm going to maybe coach you a little bit more on how to do a choral reading. Can I see your eyes, both of you, please? And thank you, Mr. Amadon. That was so wonderful.
It was fun. Can you turn off the recording?
Bye.